Okay, let me remove you. Okay, Mark. I don't know why you're wearing a mask, but okay. Yes, Mark.
Yeah, no, I'm wearing the mask for
Mask
my
and black
family.
glasses and
I'm
cap
an
and
agnostic atheist, all right? I'm from Africa. I'm an agnostic atheist. So no one in my family knows that. I'm wearing this because they
your
don't
family
know.
is what? Is what?
I'm from Africa.
No, your family is what religion? What is your family's religion?
Christian.
So why would you hide from the you becoming agnostic atheist from Christians?
No, they won't hurt me or they won't kick me or anything. But experience shows that they will not be very happy. They will be emotionally distraught. So I'm just trying to prevent that situation. So it's not really that I'm scared something happened to me. It's just I don't want the situation of having to, explain to everybody what kind of thing is happening. So in Africa we are very religious.
Uh-huh.
We have very strong emotions
Depends
as
on
well.
which part, but yeah.
Pardon?
I'm saying it depends on which part of Africa, but yeah.
Anyway, I'm from West Africa, so
Mhm.
we tend to be very emotional,
Okay.
and I'm just not really interested in getting them to have to deal with this. This
Uh-huh.
is my journey. I want
Uh-huh.
to live in my journey.
Okay, so how can I help you? Go ahead.
Yeah. So I think the thing about this today, your stream today, is a question from non-Muslims.
Yes.
So yeah. So my first question is, what is
Uh-huh.
the purpose of Islam?
Well, the word Islam means submission. The word Islam means submission. The religion of Islam, the goal of it is that people are ought to submit to their creator, the maker, the one who created everything, the one who created human beings, the one who gave us life, and the one who takes our life away, the one who put us in this life and has given us an innate disposition to recognize the truth from falsehood. So Islam initially means to submit to that one true creator, Allah, and follow the guidance that is sent from his prophets and messengers. So Islam is just a guidance for mankind because Allah created us and he would not leave us without guidance. Just like an intelligent creator would not create an object or a machine without giving you a manual of how to operate that object and that machine, right? So the creator also gives us scripture, gives us guidance on how to live our life and what we need to do and what we should avoid. And that's what Islam is essentially. And different prophets and messengers came with the same message, like that, submit to that creator alone, obey that creator, and follow his guidance. And this is how you have prosperity in this life and in the hereafter.
Okay. So if I understood well, Islam is here, came to us on earth to teach us how to submit to the creator of everything, I guess.
Yes.
Um,
Submit
and,
and follow the guidance that is beneficial for us.
and the guidance.
Yes.
And the idea here is that without Islam, no one is able to do that, I guess.
Without
That's
Islam, no one is able to do that. Not really, but we're saying if you do that, then by definition you're a Muslim. So
well,
how
if
you get what
someone
I'm
is doing
saying?
that, so what I'm trying to get at is this: there's somebody living in the Amazon forest in America, right?
Yes.
He's never seen anything about Christianity or
Okay.
Islam or Judaism,
Okay.
and he is following his lifestyle, his culture, and whatever
Uh-huh.
he has.
Okay.
And if it kind of coincides with Islam,
It's
does that
impossible.
make him a Muslim?
No, it's impossible because there are parts of revelation which needs to be revealed to you to know. So Allah Azza wa Jalla, for example, has 99 names and attributes. Those names and attributes are not going to be known by intellect. You can know some things using your intellect, like that God is powerful, looking at the bull, that God is like wise and has knowledge, and all of these things you can derive using your own faculties. But you're not going to be able to know all the attributes of the Creator. So some things you need through revelation. Also, the right and wrong. You're not going to be able to know everything without that. But the people who live in the Amazon forest who don't hear the message of Islam accounts for those people and says that they have a different test on the day of judgment. So this message that does not reach them, now they're not held accountable for what they do in their life. If they die, and in the afterlife, they have a different test on the day of judgment because they did not receive the message in this life. And the Quran explicitly mentions that if you open chapter 17 of the Quran, verse 15. Allah says, وَمَا كُنَّا مُعَذِّبِينَ حَتَّى نَبْعَثَ رَسُولًا. We were not going to punish your people until we send them a messenger. So the messenger is necessary for punishment. If they don't get a messenger, if they don't get the message, then there's no punishment for them. Rather, there's a test on the day of judgment.
Okay. So if the people don't get the message, then they don't get judged by what the message contained.
Yeah, in this life. In the afterlife, they have a different test. Yes.
Okay. And that also means that if people get the message and it is faulty, then they don't get judged as well. In other words, let's just say you are giving me, you are teaching me about Islam,
Yes.
and you give me wrong information about Islam, or you give me incomplete information about Islam, then I don't get punished because I rejected it based on incomplete information.
Yeah, and I want to mention 2 points here. If you get a wrong message, it's not the message. Then you get what I'm trying to say. If you get a wrong message, then it's not considered a message.
It's
You get the
incomplete.
you get the message when you get the message. If you get information which is wrong, you didn't really get the message. Now, there's some people who say then why don't you guys leave people alone and not teach them about Islam then? Because if they die, they're not going to be punished, right? Some people they come with this very stupid argument. They say, okay, so why do you then teach the people about Islam? And the response to this stupid argument that people are make is that the purpose of this life is to be tested. So our test in this life is whether we will believe in the Creator or not. So it's obligatory. This is why we were created. Therefore, the message needs to reach you. And the exception of the rule of the people who don't get the message reaching them, they still have the test on the day of judgment. Which means if they obeyed in this life, they go to paradise, and that means they will obey in the afterlife. And if they disobeyed in this life, that means they will disobey in the afterlife. So whether they got the test today or not, or they died without getting the test, still the same test will be applied to them in the afterlife. And on the day of judgment, they either go to hellfire or heaven. So it's not like if they don't get the message now, they get a free pass to paradise or something. No, all what happened is that the test has been delayed. You get the point? Instead of having it in this life, it's happening to you in the afterlife. So there is no difference really.
Yeah.
So whether you get in this life or in the afterlife, either way, you will end up in hellfire or paradise based on how you act and what you will do when the test comes to you.
Okay. I think I get what you're saying. But there's something you said. You said that this life is basically a test, which we have to kind of go through. But then the question is this test dependent on my free will? Do I have to agree to be a part of this test?
We don't believe in free will. We believe in choice. Yes, that you have a choice. We don't use that term free will.
Very different.
Yeah, the difference is that everything is bound to Allah's will. Ultimately, the will of the Creator, everything is under His will. So our will is not really free from God's will. That means it's not like our will overcomes the will of God. You know what I'm trying to say? Everything will happen under the dominion of God. So we don't use that term free will, which insinuates that our will is superior to God's will, that we can do whatever we want, whether God's like
So
it or
free
doesn't like it.
choice
Yeah, so
and
that's the
supposed to free will,
distinction.
so that we don't have we are not superior to Allah's will.
Yes, but if we say we have choice, yes, we do have choice. Allah's given us the choice
Is
to
the
choose
choice
what
free?
we need. Yes. Yeah, to choose what we need to do in this life, and based on our choices, we either be punished or rewarded in the afterlife.
Okay, because this is something that I struggled with, and so I've always had this thing, you know. Okay, let's say one of the definitions of God, I guess in the Judeo-Christian setting, I'm not sure if it's the same with Islam, but one of the definitions is that God is all-knowing, all-powerful, and everywhere at the same time, something like that, you know. So basically, the all-knowing part is where I get a problem, because it doesn't matter how you kind of play around with the words, but if I'm sitting here talking to you right now, there is not a single word that I'm going to say to you which an all-knowing God would not have known before creating me. That means not before creating me, but before creating the universe. The all-knowing God would have known that I would say this word that I just said to you right now. So is it really my choice to say this word?
Well, I disagree with you, and I'll say why I disagree with you, because the problem with this idea of determinism, which is you're trying to put forward right now, is not to do with knowledge, because knowledge can be explained. Like, just because God knows something, that does not necessitate that He's forced you to do that thing. So what you're saying is just because God knows what you will say right now, therefore that by necessity means He forced you to do it, and that doesn't make sense. So if I know that today you're going to sleep nighttime, that doesn't mean I'm forcing you. You could still stay awake. That if I know something and you'll do it, even though I know it, that does not mean I'm forcing you to do that thing. So I could know something, but in the same time, you're still choosing to do that thing. And the reason I know it is because you will choose it.
Okay.
The reason God knows what you will do is because you will choose it. Therefore, God knows your choices. Because God knows your choices does not mean you're not choosing. You get what I'm saying?
I think I agree with you on that particular point. That if I know that a car is going to get an accident, just because I know it doesn't mean that I made the car have the accident.
Exactly. And yeah, similarly
for that particular example. However, this is not the right analogy I would say to Allah, because there is a big difference with Allah or with God or with the creator of the universe who is all-knowing. And that difference is that He not only knows what is going to happen, but He is also the one who created me while knowing what I will do. So there's a big difference. It's not just the knowing part which makes a problem, but the fact that while creating me, He knew that I would say this words. It means that at the moment He's designing me, with the knowledge He has about what will happen, He is putting my pieces together, and He knows these pieces I'm putting together is going to do A, B, and C. Therefore, He is either deciding to make me do A, B, and C, or He is doing A, B, and C, just using me to do it. In other words, the fact that Allah is not only all-knowing, but also the creator of everything. That is the difference between the person just knowing. Just knowing something doesn't mean you make it happen. But knowing something and being the one that creates every single aspect of the thing that you know about means that you make it happen by necessity. Okay. So this is why I'm very confused about the part about all-knowing and being creator at the same time, and it's something I've struggled with a long time.
Yeah, but what you've done now is what people said. People say you move the goalpost. My answer to you, I said to you, the problem is not the knowledge part. So what you've done after that is you added the creation part to the question. You get what I'm saying? So what you've done is you kind of. I allowed you to explain and give you time. Okay, it's like we should, be accommodating. So point is, what you've done then, after I give you an answer to do with the knowledge part, you've added an extra part to do with the creation. So now it's not only the knowledge, it's also that God created you. And I'm not saying I disagree with you, but what I'm saying is, I told you when I was answering your question, I don't agree that the problem is to do with the knowledge, because you could know something, right, and not necessarily force that person to do it. So when you add another variable now of the creation, now the question becomes different. Would you agree with me? Now it's a completely different variable, it's a completely different question. So I was addressing a different question. I was addressing the question of knowledge. I'm not addressing the question of the creation. And as Muslims, as I said to you, we don't believe in something called free will. We do believe that even though Allah created us, and even though Allah knows what's going to happen, and even though everything operates under Allah's will, we are choosing. And Allah has given us the choice. And can we understand that rationally 100%? Not necessarily. We cannot understand everything in life. Our mind is limited, just like our eyesight is limited. You cannot see behind the wall. It's behind you. You cannot hear behind, let's say, a specific distance. You cannot hear more than it, right? So everything you have as a human being is limited. The amount of strength you have is limited. You can pick up a chair, but you cannot pick up a car or a building. So just because everything, when it comes to you as a human being, is limited, then why do we assume that our intellect is superior, that can figure out and understand everything of how the world operates, especially to do with the attributes of God and how His will operates? So these are things, what we say as Muslims, are beyond our capacity of comprehension. But we can know by necessity that we're choosing. Innately, we know it. Something that you know innately. When you're doing it, you yourself are convinced that you are choosing that choice. And based on that, you will be punished or rewarded, right? And Allah told us that He's not forcing us to do anything. And based on that, we'll be punished or rewarded. And I'm choosing right now to talk to you. I can remove you or keep you. I believe these are my choices, right? Whether someone tries to play a game, it's not your choice. I don't care what he says, right? I know these are my choices. Innately, intuitively, I'm feeling that I'm choosing. And based on those choices, Allah told me that He's not forcing me to do. I will be held accountable, whether either rewarded or punished.
Okay. I get the point. If I may, I happened to stumble upon a verse in the Quran. I don't know what verse it is. I really can't remember, but it was about Al-Qidah. I don't know if I'm calling that right. And Al-Qidah, it really kind of ties into this thing which you're talking about, because Al-Qidah was the teacher of Moses, right? So
Al-Khidr. Oh, I thought you said Akhirah, which means after. Yeah, it's okay. I'm just trying to get it, because Akhirah means afterlife, and Al-Khidr is an individual. So I know it's difficult for you. Obviously, it's not your language, so I understand what you're saying.
Exactly. So he was the teacher of Moses, And,
Not the teacher of Moses. No,
yeah,
no.
of Moses, exactly. Is it Moses? I know I call it in Arabic. Is it Moses
Yeah, he's not the teacher of Musa alayhi salam. Moses, yeah, Musa.
or
He's
Musa?
not
Okay,
he was not his teacher, but Allah sent him to learn some things from him. So
okay,
if I
okay.
learn, I learned a few things
Okay.
from you. It's not like he was his teacher in his whole life or something, right? There was a
Yeah.
period where he spent time with him and he learned a few things from him. Yes.
Okay, yeah, that was the context. I think that was the context. So basically, Moses or Musa, as you call him, he was sent to learn some things from Al-Qidar.
Uh-huh.
And one of the things that while he was going there, Al-Qidar did a couple of things. And at one point, he met a young man and he killed the. Some people say it's a boy, some say it's a man. I'm not so sure what it was, but he met somebody who was young and he killed him.
Okay.
And Musa was like, "Why did you do that? What did he do? He was innocent and he just killed him."
Uh-huh.
And the explanation which was given for this was that this young boy, he would have grown to lead his parents into disbelief.
Okay.
This is, I think, what I saw there. I'm not sure if I'm giving the right translation, but it was said that he would have grown to lead his parents into disbelief.
Okay.
And so this brings me back to the whole issue of free choice, as you called it, free choice.
Okay.
Where the
I didn't say
parents
free choice. I just said choice. Yeah. But it's okay.
yeah, say free choice. I think you say free choice.
No, I said choice, choice, but it's okay. It's fine.
choice, not free choice. Okay, choice.
Yes.
Where the parents not allowed to make their own choice if they want to believe or not. Basically, what happened here is that Al-Qidar, who is praised as a righteous man, I think, he basically murdered these people and took away their free will to disbelieve or believe in Allah, which means that had the boy been left alive, he might have convinced his parents, maybe with logical arguments or with rational, whatever you call it, and they might. I think that the verse actually not even says he must have become that it wasn't imperative that he would become a disbeliever, but it was like he might become a disbeliever in future and lead his parents into disbelief. So it really worries me, like, is there any choice for the parents here to choose to believe or disbelieve? Isn't this a kind of a way of telling people that if somebody disbelieves in Allah, or if they see that somebody is going to disbelieve in Allah,
let me answer you. I got your question. I got your question.
You get the point. Okay.
Yeah, but your question completely is incorrect when you look at the verses, because the people, his parents, who lived their lives, they've made their own choices without the influence of their child. That does not mean they didn't have a choice. You just assume because one external factor was taken away from the equation, therefore they had zero choice. That's not true. Assuming that, for example, that guidance is good for you, that you remaining a Muslim is good for you as Mark, and you might, for example, one day meet a person that might trick you into disbelief, because this belief is wrong, is not correct based on the Quranic narrative, right? So he would trick you, push you away from goodness, from dying and entering paradise, and then Allah happens to remove that person from your life, that specific situation from your life. That does not mean that by removing that situation, the rest of your life you had no choice. Okay, so your equation and your example does not fit when you think about it rationally. They did have a choice throughout their whole life, but the issue is not only disbelief. The verses and yurhiqahuma tughyanan wa kufra, he will also transgress against them. It's not just a disbelief, which means that he could abuse them physically, do things. They're righteous parents, and when he grows older, they will be older than him. Okay. Therefore, he can transgress against them, abuse them, do evil things to them. So it's not just to do with the choice of, you understood it in a different way there. That's not what the verses are trying to say, right? So out of mercy, Allah Azza wa Jalla did not allow that son to do these type of things to them, and because of the righteousness. So that is completely their choice. Do you know why it's completely their choice? Because they lived a righteous life. Allah rewarded them by doing that. If they did not choose to live a righteous life, Allah would not have rewarded them with that. So the fact is that which happened is a part of their choice still, because the only reason it happened is because they lived a righteous life, and them living a righteous life was a reward for them that Allah did not allow their son to transgress against them when they older.
Okay, so Allah allows some people to sin and then takes away the choice. So basically, the young boy who was killed, at the point when he was killed, from what I understand in the verse, because Musa himself said, but this boy was innocent. So it means at that point, at least.
No, Musa alayhi salam thought he was innocent.
He thought he was innocent. So the boy had committed other crimes already, and he was being punished somehow for this.
No, there is a long, there's a long discussion regarding it. He was not a small boy. He was a boy which we call a mumayyiz, someone who can differentiate between different things happening around him, right? So he was not like a young baby or something like that, or a child. And Ibn Shaykh al-Islam Taymiyyah, who was a major scholar of Islam, he went into a long explanation regarding his verse in his Darut al-Aql wa Naql. He went through a few pages through that. And he said one of the things that can be understood is that at their time, in that specific generation, people were held accountable not at puberty, but at the sin of tamyiz, at the age of differentiation. So when you're 12 years old, for example, 13, you're able to differentiate between things happening around you. So they were held accountable for the actions they do straight away from that time, and not from puberty, which is like few years after, 3 or 4 years after, you can say, right? So that's one of the examples that Shaykh al-Islam Taymiyyah said. He said that's a possibility. And either way, it was a mercy from Allah Azza wa Jal, because if someone dies young in a Muslim family, if a child dies Muslim in a Muslim family, he goes to paradise in Islam. So it's a mercy of Allah not to allow that child to become a disbeliever when he grows up, and him entering paradise by what happened to him through Al-Qadr. It's not only a mercy for the parents, but it's also a mercy for the child if that child dies upon Islam, and in the afterlife he goes to paradise. So there's so much mercy that you can extract from that example and that verse.
Yeah, but then there are two things here, because you say on the one hand, the boy was already at the point where he could distinguish between good and bad, which means he wasn't so young anymore. But
I'm giving you Mark. I'm giving you two different explanations. Oh, I'm saying one explanation that was Shaykh al-Islam's example of what could be a possibility, right? And if you don't take that possibility, then a different example I'm giving you, even you don't need to take that possibility. If you don't take that possibility, that child, if he dies as a Muslim child and his parents as Muslims, he goes to paradise. So it's mercy. So you get what I'm trying to say? I'm giving you multiple different answers, not to mix the two answers together. I'll give you different viewpoints. Okay, anything else, Mark? I'm saying, any other questions you have?
Then just one more thing. Basically,
because there are other people in the backstage.
All right, no, I won't take much time. I'll try not to take much time. No, so basically, if the boy is forgiven of his sins when he goes to I mean, if young people are forgiven of their sins when they die, if they are not yet conscious, you understand? So if Allah's goal at the end of the day is to prevent, so on the one hand, to prevent the boy from causing harm in future, which raises the point, why did Allah allow Hitler to live? He could have killed Hitler as a child to save the world. But on the other hand, if Allah's goal is to make people go to heaven without really testing them for sure, like the boy, why not just let everybody die as a child and then we all go to heaven, game finished, we're all saved?
The answer is Allah does what befits His Majesty. Allah behaves based, or not behaves even, Allah acts based on His wisdom. So Allah knows what is wise to do in what situation, which situation to give a chance, and which situation not to give a chance. That boy, whether Allah allows that boy to be a test for his parents later on or not, is Allah's decision based on His wisdom, based on looking at their life and what they deserve, and what Hitler did, the people whoever he did to, and whatever happened in history. This is all under Allah's wisdom, because Allah knows the people that Hitler killed. Allah knows Hitler's life himself. Allah knows who deserves a specific test, in which way, in which situation. So I cannot put myself in Allah's position and explain to you the difference between the choices that Allah makes, since I'm not all wise and I'm not all knowledge, defective human being, right? So just one example that Allah Azza wa Jal did with Al-Khidr, who was someone who receives revelation from Allah, and Allah was using him as a tool